Christianity and politics and what Jesus says versus a lot of things that are done in his name. This is my third time working with Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. I've done his show and we worked together at POLITICON last year. He will tell you about who he is.
I am Jesse Lee Peterson, founder and president of BOND, the Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny. Thank you. And we are rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. Also have a radio talk show, JLP Talk, and a TV show, The Fallen State.tv. And it's amazing to be here. It's nice to be in Tennessee. And thank you all for coming. We're looking forward to having a hoo-nanny of a time. But let me ask, if it wasn't for white America, would there be America?
You mean just white America?
If it wasn't for white America, white folks, would there be America?
If there wasn't for the enslavement of black people, would there be America?
If it wasn't for white people, would there be America?
It would take white people and black people and all the immigrants who have moved here in 200 years that made America, America.
But who led the way, whites or blacks?
Excuse me?
Who led the way, whites
well,
or blacks?
Blacks were not in a position to lead, Jesse, for quite some time.
Rest my case.
Yeah, black people were property for 300 years and then lived under apartheid for another 100 years, so I don't really feel like it was an even starting point.
Right.
But we're not talking about race, we're talking about faith in the Bible.
If they were smart, would they have been enslaved?
If they were, no, if they were morally indecent.
Smart people don't become enslaved,
Right, but slavery is the opposite of Christianity, and so let's get to it. This is,
right.
You want to make a statement about politics and Christianity in 2019?
We'll start out with Christianity. I am a Christian, and it's an honor, it's a blessing to be a Christian. There is no other greater religion than Christianity, and that's why it's hated so much, not only in this country, but around the world. And what makes Christianity the #1 and the greatest religion, it's the only religion that requires that you examine yourself, see that you're wrong, repent, and change.
I think other religions do that.
No other religion requires you to change and be born again.
I think most
religions
religions
are hated for that because Christians are able to point out when you're wrong and when you're right. And that's what the world
Except Christians aren't supposed to judge, right? Christians aren't supposed to judge.
No, they don't judge, they discern.
Okay.
We're not supposed to accept, we're not supposed to hate, but don't accept either. Don't accept a wrong as a right. For example, it's insane. It's just crazily insane to, when you hear two men or two women calling each other husbands and wives. That's insanity. And so Christians are supposed to rebuke that. Don't hate it, they can't help what they do, but don't accept it as a right. And one other issue is that primary in our country is abortion. We all know that abortion is evil, and that these women who are having the abortions, and these women, I'm sure you're going to agree with this.
I'm ready, yeah.
These women who are having the abortions, they hate men. And so in order to...
Do the doctors hate men as well?
Yeah.
Well, the doctors hate men too?
Absolutely.
They do it because they hate men?
They are evil and they hate the man. And the reason they hate the man, because of that order of God in Christ, Christ is man, man over woman, and woman over children. Right. All men are sons of God. Even if they are beta males, they're still sons. They're still sons of God. And evil hate the sons of God, so that's why they kill your children. They try to destroy men, and they're doing it by way of abortion.
My take is a little bit different. I'm a big fan of Jesus of the Bible, and I go by Jesus' teachings more than what certain religions tell me. We live in a time when they say the largest growing religious group in America are Mormons. I don't think that's true. I think the largest growing religious group in America are people who were raised religious, but now consider themselves spiritual, because they're turned off to a lot of the hypocrisy they see in organized religion. We live in a time when they make Christians vote against everything Christ talked about by talking about abortion, which Christ never talked about. The Bible is not actually against abortion. God gives Moses detailed tips on how to terminate a pregnancy in Book of Numbers, Part 5. I didn't write it, bro. And if you think God has a problem with killing kids, let me tell you about Passover sometime. The Bible, Jesus is against the death penalty. Very clearly, he overturns eye for an eye in the Sermon on the Mount. He stops an execution, says only the sinless should be allowed to carry out executions, and says we must forgive those who trespass against us. So Jesus, anti-death penalty, never mentioned abortion. And my issue is, I don't think people who hijack planes are the greatest threat to Christianity. It's the people who hijacked Christianity. If you go by what the Bible says, just by what we have in the Gospels, Jesus was a peaceful, radical, nonviolent revolutionary who hung around with lepers, hookers, and crooks, judged no one, loved everyone, never spoke English, wasn't American, was anti-wealth, completely anti-death penalty, anti-public prayer, Matthew 6:5, he was, but never anti-gay, never mentioned abortion, never technically came out against premarital sex, he never called poor people lazy, he never fought for tax cuts for the wealthiest Nazarenes, never asked a leper for a co-pay, never said torture was okay in some conditions, and was a long-haired, brown-skinned, that's in the book of Revelation, brown-skinned, homeless, community organizing, unarmed, Palestinian, liberal, anti-slut-shaming Jew. That's what the Gospels say.
Well, that's the kind of Jesus that you do not want. That's a beta Jesus. Beta Jesus.
I know that we've recreated Jesus in our own image in some cases, but I can back up mine with text.
First of all, God said that Christ said that only God gives life and only God can take life, right? And so abortion is taking innocent lives.
And so you're against the death penalty as well, right?
I pray to God that Jesus is not trying to return through the woman's womb. He would not have a chance today.
I say if you're against abortion, fight to make it illegal, fight to criminalize it, but don't pretend the Bible's against it.
Secondly, when you talk about the poor, they were poor in spirit, meaning that they didn't know God, they had turned away from Him, and that's why He said that we should always have poor people, poor on the earth, not poor in material things, but poor in spirit, because when you don't love God with all your heart, soul, and might, and you're turned away from Him, then you are poor in spirit. Even if you have material things, you still are connected from God, so you don't have life. Your eyes are open, but you're dead. Homosexuality is not of God and it's not from God.
And yet God's created gay people in every culture that's ever kept records.
It's a spirit that creates, that come about by turning boys and girls away from their fathers. Because when you turn them away from your father, from your earthly father, they turn away from God. And most men and women today are turned away from their fathers by their mothers, because their mothers hated the father, jealous and envy of the father. Secretly, in many cases, she'll turn the children away from the father toward her. And when you go toward the mother, you become resentful and you become like what you hate, right? And that's why you see men and women, boys and girls acting like women, because they have the mental and emotional personality of their mothers. And that's why God said there will come a day when I will turn the children, the adult children as well, back to their fathers and the fathers to the children, so that you can become logical rather than emotional.
Okay, so
because an emotional person is a beta male or beta female.
Right. An emotional person tweets at 5 in the morning. He has no game. So here's the deal. I'm going to let Jesse.
What? I didn't hear that.
I said an emotional person tweets insults and freaks out on Twitter because he can't handle criticism. I'm going to let Jesse's comments on women speak for themselves, but you cannot use any part of the Bible to say that same-sex relationships are wrong. He's using Leviticus, where God tells Moses a man with a man is an abomination. But we have this thing in Christianity called a new covenant. We don't have to live by Leviticus. If you believe in Leviticus, you can't eat bacon. You can't wear clothes of 2 different fibers. You have to not just hate gay people, but kill them when you see them. And Jesus actually throws this in the Pharisees' face, because Jesus overturned lots of Old Testament laws on divorce, on food purity, on Sabbath observance, on the death penalty. When the Pharisees came after him and said, hey, your followers are working on the Sabbath, Jesus said, do you kill your kids when they misbehave? Because Leviticus commands that. We don't live by Leviticus. Christ is not a homophobe. The good news of Jesus, whether he's the Son of God, a historical figure, a myth, whatever you choose to believe, the good news of Jesus is you get to drop the homophobia. Your job is to love everyone, not exclude God's children. And Reverend, respectfully, we don't live by Leviticus. We are not prehistoric Jews. We live under a new covenant of Christ. He reduced the 10 Commandments to 2. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. That's Christianity, brothers and sisters.
Are you Jewish?
I am not Jewish.
Oh. The one thing I want to say is that we're not supposed to hate. As a matter of fact, when you are born again of God, you overcome hate, you overcome anger, and you take on His identity, which is perfect love. And in His love, there is no hate. In His love, sound mind, perfect peace, insight, and just perfect on earth, right? But in that fallen state, when you're away from God, you tend to hate others. But we have no right to hate others. But you also cannot accept a wrong as a right, because we live by faith. And whatever you believe in believes in you, and it will control you. So when you have homosexuals, God made man and woman. You did not make homosexuals, right?
Yes, He
and so
did.
when you
Every country that's ever kept records has documented same-sex relationships.
When you accept homosexuality as a right, you will find that you start to believe in it. You become attracted to it. And eventually, it will control you. And so it's clear God made man and woman. Homosexuals they're in a fallen state. And they don't realize that they're in a fallen state. So they need to examine themselves and realize that they have fallen away from what is right. And repent from that and overcome it.
Right.
Because overcoming anything through God, all things are possible.
I'd love to ask you a question.
We need to love them enough to be honest with them, but don't accept the lifestyle as a right. And He's right. God made all of us, but He did not make the spirit of homosexuality.
I ask, there's 1,500
their daddy, Satan.
Okay, 1,500 species. We should have a timer. 1,500 species of animals have same-sex relationships. Are the dolphins that are gay evil too? Here's my point. I have a question. I got a question. I'm going to talk now. My turn.
You make a very point in that.
No, man. You don't filibuster, Jesse. Come on, man.
You do act like
I have a question for you.
So yes, they are acting like animals.
They're acting like animals.
You're right about that.
1,500 species have same-sex relations. Homophobia, only one. So here's the deal. I get down when I see people who claim to be followers of Christ using Christianity as a cloaking device for cruelty. Jesus stood for always standing up for the marginalized. Whoever was hated, whoever was at the lowest rung of society, that's who He fought for. The lepers, the prostitutes, the poorest of the poor, the despised foreign ethnic groups and religions like the Samaritans. There's a reason Christ made a despised foreigner a hero of that story. Even the Roman centurion.
All that's not true.
What I see under the Trump administration,
not true.
I'm going to finish my point and ask you a question. Yes, Christ fought. Jesus says in the parable of the goat and the sheep, it's about the least of my people, and whatever you do for the least of my people, you do unto me. But in the era of Trump, here's my question. I see Christians crapping on marginalized people, whether they're Syrian refugees from a war, the Christian refugees at our border that we call illegals, they're Christians too, and God doesn't recognize our borders. Whether it's trans kids, trans soldiers who want to serve their country being shit on. Time and time again, we see a certain kind of modern, fundamentalist, extreme conservative Christian disparaging the marginalized. My question is, will you please name me one specific teaching of Christ that Donald Trump campaigned on or has fought for legislatively? One actual teaching of Jesus. One.
The one thing I do want to clear up, and then I will answer the question. Christ did not come from all that crap that they claim that He came from. Christ came for those who were lost. As a result, in the Old Testament,
I agree.
As a result of the Old Testament, there was no way to overcome the fallen state, right? And so one day, God and His Son were sitting up and they were having coffee mocha. And
you're dodging the question.
And I don't want to forget your question. So they were looking down on earth and they saw in the Old Testament that my children cannot find their way home. And so He said to His Son, you know what? Go down there, sacrifice, so that they can have a way to overcome. Be an example.
Right.
And so He sent His Son, and the Son said, hey, the Father sent me. And if you believe me, through me you can return to the Father. And those
so one
who
teaching
lost
of Jesus.
and wanted to return to the Father. Those who did not want to accept it, Right, even today, if you look around, the Old Testament is being lived out right now in the world. That's why he said we can be in it, but not of it. If you look at politics, especially the Democrats and the rhinos, if you look at the family, if you look at another area, homosexuality, abortion, every wicked thing.
So one teaching of Jesus that Trump has fought for, please.
Every wicked thing that's in the Old Testament is lived out today in the world. But once you're born again,
one teaching of Jesus.
You're lost and you're born again, then you can return to the Father. And
one teaching of Christ that Donald Trump campaigned on or has fought for, just one, please. One specific actual teaching of Jesus that Donald Trump campaigned on or has fought for, just one. Because the point I'm making is Trump's support is not compatible with the gospel teachings of Christ.
That's a good question.
I love you, man. Give me one teaching of Jesus.
Love.
Donald Trump, love. Show me where Donald Trump campaigned on love or has fought for love, and I will tell you every person he smeared, lied about, or insulted.
This is so good. It makes you want to go, Hola.
Does Donald Trump like flavor as himself?
Delicious.
What?
President Trump loved his country, and President Trump is the father of the country. And the president put his family before taking on another family, right? Unlike these guys, they're going to make babies with everybody and leave their babies behind America.
I'm not a Democrat, Justin.
Our president put America first because he loves us.
Right, America's not in the Bible, so I'm asking you for one thing Jesus taught that Donald Trump has fought for or on a legislative level or campaigned on.
He said that I'm going to bring jobs back, less restrictions on businesses, I'm going to cut back on
Jesus didn't talk about deregulation.
On taxes. I'm going to bring
Jesus said pay your taxes, that's rendering to Caesar.
I'm going to bring our boys and girls home for the military. Lo and behold, he doing that, he's showing love. God is love.
I'm asking for one thing Jesus told us to do that Donald Trump campaigned on or has fought for legislatively.
To love one another.
To love one another? Meaning don't bear false witness, don't lie about where Barack Obama was born, meaning the Christian refugees that are born.
Love one another.
When you say I will look Syrian war refugees in the eye and tell them you can't come here, I don't see the love. When you attack women's appearances, I don't see the love.
Are you denying that?
Where is love in Donald Trump's platform? Where is love in his legislative agenda? Last year, billionaires paid lower taxes than the working class for the first time in history. Brothers and sisters, I know you're not evil, but they use abortion to get you to vote to make the rich richer. That's the racket.
I'm showing you the love.
Where's the love that Trump has legislatively?
He's the first person that I'm aware of as a politician, and he's not a real one because
Donald Trump supported a health care bill that would remove 30 million people from the health care rolls.
He's keeping his word about everything he said he would do.
Mexico's not paying for the wall, and building a wall is the opposite of Christianity.
In spite of the children
the Pope said that.
Someone else?
Pope Francis said, anyone who wants to build a wall instead of a bridge is not a Christian. I'm not making it up. Now, if Donald Trump really, and all he does is demonize immigrants, right? Christ himself was a migrant refugee in Egypt as a child. If Donald Trump wanted undocumented immigration to stop, he would start arresting the white people who hire them.
Let me ask you.
You want to make it stop? It's supply and demand. You can build a wall, but it'll never hide the help wanted sign. It's a racket. If they wanted it to stop, they would arrest the people hiring undocumented immigrants. But you notice they're not. I'm doing it now, Jess. They're not doing it, and they could do it. They don't actually care. They use illegal immigration for votes. They call them dehumanizing terms like illegals when they are Christians, our fellow Christians at the border. In many cases, fleeing the violence of our own drug war. It's a racket. He said Mexico would pay for the wall. The wall will never keep them out. The wall is a symbol of anti-Christian hate. And again, if they wanted the immigrants to stop coming, they lock up the people who do the hiring. But they can't because Trump has hired undocumented immigrants in the last 2 centuries.
Let me ask 2 questions for my friend. 2 questions. So you don't believe that the Pope is fake?
What does that mean? No, he's the actual Pope.
So you believe the Pope?
I believe the Pope what?
Do you believe what the Pope has to say?
I agree with the Pope in some areas, I disagree with the Pope in other areas, like most people.
At one time, the Pope said that God was Jesus, and that Jesus was God. Remember that?
That's
now the Pope says,
St. Augustine.
Now the Pope says that Jesus is just a regular guy. He was just a regular guy.
Pope hasn't
he
said
was
that.
not
Pope
God.
hasn't said that,
He
Jesse.
did say that.
The Pope has not said that,
He was a
friends.
nice man, strong, but not God. Do you believe that?
The Pope hasn't said that.
Do you believe that?
I don't believe that because he didn't say it.
He said it.
He didn't say
He
it.
did say it.
His
So
whole
you're not
thing is
gonna
based
answer
on the
that?
divinity
I
of
got one
Christ.
more
That's the
question.
whole Vatican racket. You're changing the subject. One, teaching of Christ.
I have
Trump
one more
fought for.
question.
Trump does not love
The Pope
people.
said that. But let me ask, are you for a wall around America, around the borders of America?
No, I am not for a wall around the borders of America. It won't solve our problems. It's a racket. It's socialism. And they're never going to build a wall at the southern border anyway because you have to use eminent domain to steal land from Americans. They're conning all y'all.
Follow-up question. Are you for a wall around Israel?
No, I'm not. But I
You
do.
don't think Israel should have a wall?
Oh, let me ask you something. In
No,
Israel,
answer that first.
abortions are free in Israel.
No, we're not
You support
talking about
Israel?
abortion.
You support apartheid Israel
Answer
where
the wall
abortions are
thing
free
first.
for all women?
Answer the wall first.
I don't. I think Israel needs to be protected, and I think that they need to have a system
don't need
where the
a wall.
Palestinians have their own state, and America helps a global coalition
But they don't
enforce
need a wall.
peace.
Israel should not have put up a wall, right?
I'm not Israeli. I don't get to have a say in what
Israel
we
have put
do.
up a wall around its border.
Should Israel provide free
That's
abortions?
not what I'm asking.
If Israel chooses to do it, they can do it.
That's not what I asked.
If Israel chooses to do it, they can
That's
do
not
it.
what I asked.
I don't think they should do
Israel
it.
put a wall around the border.
I don't think they should do it.
Is that a
If
yes
they
or no?
They can do it. It's up to them. Jesse.
No,
It's not
no,
their place.
no, no,
And
no.
no, I don't think they should do it. They don't need to do it. It's not going to
They
solve
should
their
not have put a
problems.
wall up, right?
It won't solve the problem.
They should not have put a wall up.
It's their call, man.
They should not have put a wall up.
I wouldn't have done it.
Should
I've
they
said
have
no
put a
4
wall up?
times. I wouldn't do it. Israel
I
gets
didn't
to.
ask if you
Should
would.
abortions be free in
No,
Israel?
they should have.
No, they should not have put up a wall. My
By the
friend
way,
said that.
he might not know. I'm black.
5 times I've said
Hey,
no.
hey, I'm black and slow, so I need answers.
If you're a black man who puts down black people, there's a white man who will put you on TV. Remember that.
Who is that? Who is that white man? Let me know.
Why are you looking down on him?
Who is
Newsmax.
that white man who put me on TV for telling the truth about the blacks?
I can talk about
Nobody raised
on
their
your
hand.
board of directors, but no, the people who hired you aren't here today. Jesse.
I wish we had.
Newsmax.
I don't work for Newsmax now, I work for me.
You work
And
for
I
you,
was
okay.
working for
When you worked
Newsmax,
for Newsmax,
but I was already doing my own thing.
That's
Thank
great.
you. So let me ask you, don't think blacks are capable of telling the truth
You're
about
the one
other
that's saying
blacks?
that black people
Hold on,
don't.
no, no.
You did say
I said
that.
I'm black and so
You're making a joke, Jesse. Come on. You can
about me.
All right. Well, I don't think you're dumb.
So do you think black people are smart enough to do it on their own, to tell the truth about other black people? And are they smart enough to make it on their own and be honest about one another?
Yes.
But why do you say a white man has to be paying me to do this?
No, I said if you are a black person who puts down black people, there is a white person
Why
who will
do you
give you
say
a
that?
platform.
But why
Because
do you
I've
say
seen your
that?
fans, Jesse, and I've seen your YouTube
mostly
page,
black.
and you give a lot of racist cover to feel like they're not racist.
First of all, no such thing as racism, sexism, homophobism, Islamophobism, Daddyism.
What was
no,
segregation,
it's up.
Jesse? What was
It's
segregation?
either right or wrong, good or evil. We are spiritual, and everything we do in life is
no racism.
spiritual. You either hate or you love. There's no in between. I rest my case.
You love?
All people.
Do you love people that you agree with or people you disagree
I
with?
love all
You love
people.
Muslims, you love feminists, you love people who have abortions?
Yes.
You love people who have abortions?
Absolutely.
You just said they were evil a minute
They
ago.
are evil, but I still love them.
Okay, should women go to jail for terminating pregnancies?
They can't. If
women go to
when I
jail
become
for terminating-
president in 2024,
Listen, criminalizing abortion means women go to jail for terminating
when you
pregnancy.
kill your baby in the womb, you going to jail. We gotta protect this.
So should we end funding to Israel because abortions are free for women in Israel? Should we stop having American tax dollars go over there?
Repeat that.
Abortions are free in Israel. Should we stop sending foreign aid to a country that pays for abortions for free?
We definitely should not be giving them money to pay for abortion.
Should we still
But
give them
as
aid?
long as Israel is our ally, our friends, we should definitely support them.
About believing science, then you don't care about the unborn people. Now please name one teaching of Jesus that Trump ever fought for, Jesse. Just one. Nobody hates like a Christian who's just been told their hate isn't Christian.
So, just for the record, John is saying out loud, not saying out loud, yes, he's okay with 77%.
This is a lie. This is bearing false witness. Why would you do this?
There are more abortion bills in the inner cities. And as far as abortion, when I was growing up in
It's supposed to
Alabama,
be about faith and
when I was
politics.
growing up in Alabama, no such thing as abortion.
Jesse,
I did not
there
know
were
what
abortions
was
there. You didn't know about it. They were illegal and unsafe, and women bled out.
It was illegal when I was growing up.
But just because abortion's illegal doesn't mean they're not happening. That's the
That's
whole
why-
point.
yeah,
My parents
yeah,
did not like
yeah.
abortion. My mom was a nurse and a
Yeah.
nun. They didn't like abortions in
Let me tell you
Christ.
something.
Jesse, you can mock me all you want. I'm asking you to tell us one teaching
I
of
told you
Jesus.
love.
Donald Trump called Republicans who don't support him human scum this week.
So
He
let me
called
go
them
back.
human scum. Don't tell me
Hold
Trump
on.
campaigned on love.
Where's
He
the lie?
campaigned on hate. He campaigned on xenophobia, on hating immigrants, on hating foreigners, on hating Muslims. It's not true.
That's what you
Jesse.
call it.
One teaching of Christ that Trump campaigned on or has fought for legislatively.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
You can't do
Well,
it.
let me just tell you, abortion will end. Abortion.
Trump didn't fight for that, and Donald Trump encouraged more police brutality. Donald Trump told cops they should be rougher with perps when they load them
was
into a
that?
car, and you saw him do it.
That's Black Lives
The
Matter.
First Step Act, I give Jared credit for that, and Trump signed it.
Fry
He
the
didn't
pigs
campaign
like
on it,
bacon.
and he didn't fight for it.
So just for the record, abortion will end in America.
Legal
And the way
abortion
that it's
could
going
end in
to
America. Abortion will
And
not
the way
end.
that it's going to end is because we are bringing back that order of God. Of God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman. and
Safe
woman
and
over
legal
children.
abortion
And
may
when these
end.
men and women grow up and they date, they get married, and the husband and wife stay together and raise their kids in the right way, abortion will end because the women will not feel helpless. They will not be subject to the children of a lie. And they will know that family order is working.
So am I going to get, we have to do Q&A with the audience now.
Yeah.
So listen, before we do it, I just want to give you one last chance, Jesse, to name
Let me
us
say this, let me say
one teaching of Jesus. One teaching of Jesus. Trump didn't campaign
I
on
am for the wall around the borders. We need tight, high-ceiling walls.
This is
And
the
I
opposite
wanna
of
know from
Christianity.
John, I want to know from John.
one teaching of Christ.
Does it bother you, John, that these illegal aliens are coming into the country and they are ending up in the inner cities first? And so they are affecting black people by taking away the jobs.
If you
They're
want
taking away the
undocumented
healthcare. I haven't
immigration to
finished,
end,
John. I
you'll
haven't
lock the
finished.
people
I
who
haven't
hire them.
finished. Hey,
You don't want it to end.
I have not finished. They're taking away the job, healthcare, the public school system are
They're not
overcrowded.
taking away the jobs.
In public
Unemployment.
school, I work in there, I know. Public schools are no good anyway, so I don't
So
mind.
in other
that.
words, you blame
But let me ask,
when a white
black
man
people-
outsources your job to China, you blame
No,
you guys
I'm
at
not
Home
done.
Depot looking for daylight.
I'm not done yet. Black Americans are having to leave the inner cities and move back to Alabama, Georgia, and the South looking for jobs and things like that. Does it bother you, John, that the illegals are coming in?
Yeah, make this argument, and then make the unemployment argument at the same time.
Hold on, John. Does it bother you that blacks are affected first and foremost by illegal aliens coming in?
They're not.
No,
That's
no,
not
I said,
true.
does
I
it
reject
bother
the
you?
premise.
I
reject
asked,
the
does
premise.
it bother you?
No, it's not true.
I asked,
Jesse.
does it bother you?
Should we arrest the
Does
people?
it bother
Should
you?
we arrest people who hire undocumented immigrants?
That's not what I asked
Should we
you.
arrest people who hire them?
Absolutely.
Then Donald Trump has to be arrested. You'd agree,
Right,
right?
yeah.
He's hired them in 2 different centuries.
But let me ask-
Trump Tower was
Let me
built
ask
by
my
illegal
question,
labor,
yeah.
and he's hired them in his golf courses.
You know the
It's
job,
all
man.
hypocrisy,
That
guys.
person.
They're hustling. Yes, hi.
My question was mostly for Jesse. I wanted to get back to more about faith and politics.
We needed a moderator. I thought we needed a moderator for this. Go ahead.
So specifically about Christianity.
Yeah, I didn't answer my question.
Well,
Nor you mine.
About black people. And abortion.
most people would agree that Christianity states that if you believe in Jesus, you go to hell. Or sorry, you believe in Jesus, you go to heaven. You believe in Jesus, you go to heaven. You don't, you go to hell. So my question was, how does that type of black and white thinking affect our congressman's ability to deal with issues that may have a gray area?
Great question.
First of all, we as human beings don't have a right, we can't decide who's going to go to heaven or hell, because only God knows a man's heart or the woman's heart, and only He made that decision, makes that decision. That's why while we live, we should be born again so that we can be right and do right in hope that he will consider us and take us once we die. Well, we don't have a right to make that decision.
When non-Christians
And we
die, they go to hell?
And we cannot determine that.
But how does that affect politicians and their decisions in making laws?
Well, if you notice that not all, but most politicians are not of God. They're of their father, the devil. And that's why they make law that goes against what is right. And it promotes everything that's wrong. And that's why we, the people, have to take back the government, because they work for us. And at one time, it was we, the people. And when they don't keep the laws of this country, which come from Christianity, then we need to vote them out and vote in men and women who will keep the laws based on
If you
God's
believe
word.
people not in your religion are going to hell, it helps you dehumanize them and see them less
No
as
one
humans,
believe that.
which makes cruelty feel virtuous to you. I would love a government based on Christian values. If we're talking about
We gotta
the
bring
Sermon
that
on the
down.
Mount,
We don't
Matthew
have it now.
25, that's what I would love to see.
We don't have Christian values in government at this point. Except for the
more
great
people
white
in a
hope.
few minutes.
The only person is the great white hope.
Hello, ma'am.
I just want to make a statement first. You asked the question, what Trump has run on in the Bible, whatever. It's zero.
Zero.
Did you say zero?
Yeah, zero.
You smoke pot? You smoke pot? You smoke pot? Pot smoker!
I don't smoke pot, but
How's you supposed to think that way?
He's filibustering you now because he doesn't like the fact
Pot
that
smoker!
I don't care. But I
Pot smoker!
didn't vote for him in 2016, but I will in 2020. I'm not voting for him because he's Christian-like or Christ-like. I just like his policies. But anyway,
Hell yeah.
my question is for both of you, or actually you.
John, hi.
So, everyone is talking about if you outlaw abortion, you're still going to have abortions anyway. I sort of agree with that. So why do we think that not outlawing abortion will not stop it, but will gun laws stop gun?
Exactly.
Good question.
Yeah.
Well, first off, if someone's terminating a pregnancy, that's a woman having agency over her own body. She's not doing something that's going to kill a bunch of kids in a schoolyard. And I'm with Ronald Reagan
Just
in
in the
believing
womb.
civilians should not be able to own weapons designed to kill lots of humans really fast. I don't think civilians should have access to that. I agree with Reagan on it. In the case of abortion, whether we like it or not, the fact is that it's a woman's agency over her own body.
not.
And I don't
That's
think
not
that people
true.
with penises should get to tell women what they do. And again, yes, if you end abortion, it'll still go on. And if you ban weapons, they'll still be there. But the question is, there's not going to be like bootleg AR-15s being sold. I mean, but you will have more Dr. Kermit Gosnell butcher clinics that are not regulated, and that'll kill women. And if you don't like Dr. Kermit Gosnell, I say keep abortion safe and regulated, and then try to reduce the number of unwanted pregnancies.
No such thing as
But
a
both
safe
parties
abortion.
use abortion to keep us fighting and to raise money. They don't want a solution to abortion
Yeah.
any more than a solution to immigration, because it keeps the votes and the donations flowing.
No such thing as a safe abortion. All baby die. Stop for that. Where you can. No such thing as a safe abortion. Stay off the spot.
Hello.
I want to fire a few things. So you said Jesus was anti-wealth, but there was a small story that he said about the 3 servants and money. Two of them invested, and his master loved them for it, and the other one buried them in dirt.
Yeah.
That servant away. So he's not against.
That's a parable about responsibility. Jesus said it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to
money
enter the
in
kingdom.
dirt, just having it for later.
Jesus spoke in parable and metaphor. You know that, right? That was Jesus telling a story. The story.
And that we have a new covenant, and we don't need to be looking back at Leviticus. He was the king of the Jews. He performed the Passover, and he lived by the 10 Commandments. He did not condense them into.
He reduced them to 2.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
He said the greater of these is to love thy Lord.
He said, love God, your Father, with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul, and love your neighbor and yourself. This is how the prophecy is fulfilled. He reduced the 10 Commandments to 2, and he challenged multiple Old Testament laws, including divorce in Matthew 19, and the death penalty.
I'm sorry, that is not true at all. The Pharisees pushed that question on him to see which of those were greater. He did not convince them. He just pointed out which of
He didn't convince them at all. They got him killed. So the Pharisees had him knocked off. I mean, I know he didn't convince them,
Yeah,
but
let me ask-
Matthew 19 is Jesus coming out against straight divorce.
You were also saying about
If you believe it, if you're against straight divorce, I don't know where the Trump support comes in.
I'll bring that up to it later, but you were saying all homosexuality was in every animal, but we are the image of God and we are to be set apart from all animals.
Okay, fair enough, but still, gay behavior has been documented in every culture that's ever kept records. So the same people who say that means it's natural, other people say it's a conspiracy. I don't think God creates people so they can be despised and go to hell. I don't believe in that kind of hateful God. And you know gay people. You don't hate gay people, do you? You have gay friends, right?
Evil is all amongst us.
Dude, come on now. Stop it. You have gay friends? Yes, I do. Thank God.
Do you love Trump?
If Trump needed a kidney and I was the only match, I'd be right there. But I do
love
not.
him.
I love everyone, man. But I do not love his agenda.
John, do you love Trump?
I have worked with Trump before.
John, do you love Trump?
I love Trump in that I'm called to love all people, but Trump is an incompetent, lying con
One more
man
time, John.
who stole money from veterans with a
I did ask
scam
about
online
Obama.
university, and a lot of decent conservative people have been sold the bill of goods.
I did not ask about Obama, I asked about Trump. Do you love Trump? Do you love Trump?
I love him, everybody as much as I love you, Jesse.
Okay,
You love Obama, Jesse? You love Obama?
Yes.
Yeah?
you're also saying how
Did I just get a Christian? Fuck you? Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
You're also saying how the Pope should, we should be building bridges instead of walls, but yeah, there's a wall around the Vatican.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's real estate. That's not to keep people out.
You're also saying the surrounding countries of Israel have been let the citizens of Israel after they've been built as a state.
Right. Well, Israel has every right to build a wall. I'm not disputing that, friend. You're looking for fault in everything I said. If I were you.
I want to ask John this. You got to hear this answer.
That's the moral argument to not pay child support we just heard.
You got to hear this answer. I want everybody to hear this answer. So, I want everybody to hear this answer. So God made it possible that man and woman could get together and make a baby, right? God did that, right?
God and science,
Did God
whatever you
do that,
believe.
yes or not?
What is your point?
God made that possible, right?
You're trying to be mean to gay people. Let's
No. Answer that question. Did God make that
In
possible?
the Bible, God makes it possible, but I don't put my belief system on
So
everybody else's.
if God made homosexuals, why did he make it so that they wanted a baby, they got to go out of their gayness to get a baby with a woman?
You know what? Adam and Eve
Man,
can't procreate.
why did God make it so they can't have babies?
Adam and Steve can't procreate, but they can adopt some of those accidents Adam and Eve don't
I
want.
rest my case.
All right, hey, this has been one of the most intense debates of the whole weekend, so thank you guys both for being here.
Thank you for coming.
So my question is really for you, John. So I believe we've got some common ground as Christians. Sound like you're a Christian.
Are you a Christian?
I do Christian like I do the word woke. I don't
rest
go around
my
bragging about it. I aspire to be it.
All right, so my question is this. I believe that we are all made in the image of God, therefore every human is created with inherent value. To kind of confront you on your stance on abortion, where does that value begin? Because it's either life or death. So in your opinion, where does a human life begin its inherent value?
In the Bible, life begins with first breath.
You.
I would challenge you on that. I don't have my Bible.
My
baby's
personal
breathing in the
opinion doesn't matter because men should not be making this choice for women.
Next question. Next question.
And in the Bible, God says life begins with first
What
breath.
does the vagina do that suddenly makes the life valuable?
I didn't write the book.
Have you seen a vagina?
I didn't write the book. I don't think women should go to jail for it.
John, do you think a woman's body is her own?
Name one teaching of Christ that Trump has campaigned on or fought for
That's not what I
legislatively.
asked. Do you
Yes,
think-
sir.
John.
I'll answer when you answer mine. Go ahead, sir.
John,
Jesse, we got people that are
real
fans.
fast.
They want to yell at me. Let them yell at me,
Let me
Jesse.
just say,
Sir,
a
go
woman's
ahead.
body is not her own. Our body belongs to God. God created the body, he owned the body.
Go ahead.
The body is the temple of God.
Well,
That's why
Men who make laws are not God. Go ahead.
Okay, this is a quick two-part question. Do you believe that this is directed to John, do you believe that there are any values worth protecting as a society?
Yes.
Okay, then doesn't it stand to reason that we should make sure that the people we allow into our society don't oppose those values? And then how do we go about doing that?
Well, you've got the small problem of a free country and liberty.
Right, how do you protect the idea of liberty?
You have a First Amendment that allows people to say what they want and what they feel and challenge your morality, challenge your values, challenge the ethics that you think are bedrock, and we as a culture decide on it, and that's how we move forward and evolve. And generally speaking, we get along. We do fight a lot, but take Muslim refugees, for example. America's done a much better job of integrating Muslim refugees into the country than our friends in Europe, because we're already a nation of immigrants and we can handle differing ideas and a more pluralistic society a bit easier than more homogenous friends overseas. So, I don't
This
think
is why God said the intellectual would never enter into the kingdom of heaven.
God does not say that.
Because their egos are out of control,
Thank you
and
for the
they
question.
think that they are God. They will
One
never
teaching
enter
of
heaven.
Jesus. Can anyone name a teaching of him? Go ahead, please. Sorry.
Go ahead. Or make you something.
That is the correct way to address you. Is it not? Reverend?
No, just call me Jesse.
Are you a reverend?
Just call me Jesse.
Are you a reverend?
Yes.
A doctorate in divinity? Who? A doctorate in divinity.
No.
Where did you?
My doctor
He's an
died.
ordained minister. Next question. What's your question, sir?
You're self-proclaimed. In other words, you didn't go to a university to study.
Boo.
That's right. Thank God. I would be university right now.
All right, next question. Next question.
God
He's
did.
a hater.
So,
God did. Mine's a straight
an
from
organized
God.
church?
Not some intellectual
are you ordained?
teaching.
Are you ordained, Jesse?
Yes.
Oh yeah, are you an ordained minister?
Yes.
Why what university?
Denomination?
I'm a Christian. Non-denomination Christian.
Ordained yourself to be.
What do you want, man? I'm asking a question.
Wait a minute.
Baby.
Go ahead, please.
Conversations like this just make me very glad we live in a country where you can believe whatever the hell you want. But I'm also wondering, do you think that bizarre conversations like this show that your religion should be between you and whatever God that you believe in, and religion has no place in public society or in politics?
Yeah.
Religion should not be hidden away. It should be very public.
Freedom of speech.
Because as children of God, He works through us to create love, and in that love, He will draw others unto Him.
Jay.
So we should be involved in every aspect of life. In the public sphere.
I believe in separation of church and state, but I don't think you could ever tell people to put their morality in the back seat and not let their faith guide them if that's what they use. But I will say that we do have freedom of speech. People are allowed to have the freedom of religion and say what they want. But for my money, if you're going to claim to be a Christian and then fight for policies that go directly against the teachings of Christ, my First Amendment rights allow me to call you out for bullshit.
Well, your whole idea goes against Christ.
Pardon?
All of your ideas goes against Christ.
Which of my
Satan
no. You haven't told me one Trump idea, because I can give you 2 dozen Trump ideas that go against Christ. One, he does not love Jesse.
I got it.
You need me to run through all the insults he had against how many women's appearance did he insult? How many minorities? How many poor people did he mock?
I'll give you an example.
Hate. Let me
tell you one.
We've done this. Let's let these guys talk.
He put black people to work. Does that help?
Barack Obama cut the black unemployment rate in half. Under Donald Trump, it went down 1 more point, and Trump's taking credit for it. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My question is primarily directed at, well, I guess exclusively
Just like your mom.
Mr. Fugelsang. And this sounds a little esoteric, but I really do think it gets to a lot of what's going on here. How do concepts for you, theological concepts, I know you know about, it sounds like you know about this stuff. Concept what I haven't really heard about, talked about, concepts of fall, the concepts of original sin. How do those fit into this theology you've constructed for yourself? Or do they?
I don't think faith is one size fits all, and there's lots of Christians that don't buy the concept of original sin. The same people who told me that every baby is born innocent are the ones who told me that we have original sin from birth. So there's contradictions inherent in all of this.
So you know about the original sin idea?
I don't claim to know. I don't claim to have absolute truth on anything. All we have is our interpretations of the text, and you can either fight for love and inclusivity or selfishness and cruelty.
So you don't believe original sin is this?
Do I believe that we're all born evil? That we're all born in sin? My church teaches that, but I don't know that I believe that.
What church?
Because I don't know how you're going to come around and talk about innocent fetuses and then say we're all born in sin.
Okay.
This is for that guy that can't answer a question on the left. Illegal.
Will you please name me one specific teaching of Christ that Donald Trump campaigned on or flustered legislation? I'm looking at your shirt and I'm really finding your theology dubious. Go ahead. Please, go ahead.
How do illegal immigrants pay income tax?
Illegal immigrant what?
How do illegal immigrants pay income tax?
Legal immigrants pay state tax, they pay local tax, and they pay sales tax. They don't pay income tax. They pay billions every year, and you can Google it. And by the way, you call them illegals. I call them Christian refugees.
They're illegals.
God does not give a shit about our borders we invented, folks. They're your brothers and sisters, and they are marginalized. And if you're called to care for the least of these, but your love for the least of these ends where your imaginary line in the sand is, you've got a pretty shaky Christianity.
They're illegals.
So they're privileged.
That's a slur.
No, that's true.
You're Christian refugees. Go ahead.
No,
He hates brown people.
Two more, please.
A woman, please, thank you.
One woman, thank God. Go ahead, sir.
All right, I was just wondering, I think Jesus talks about fighting for the least of these, and he says that I have come so that we may have life and have it more abundantly. And so I'm just wondering, the baby in the womb is the least of these. They don't have a voice, nobody can fight for them, and they're alive. They have a heart. And Jesus wants them to have life. I'm wondering about that.
Well, Jesus doesn't mention abortion, and he never forbids it, he never bans it, and again, his father sanctions it in the book of Numbers when he tells Moses how to terminate a pregnancy if your wife's pregnant by another man.
So now we are going into Numbers, and we're saying that we can't use Numbers.
No, what I'm saying is, Jesus was against the death penalty, never mentioned abortion. Now, I agree with you, and it's a very good point. If he fights for the marginalized, then yes, you can make the argument, and it's a good argument to make, that an unborn baby is among the least of these. My point is, go ahead and make that argument. I'm going to still fight against men making that choice. And yes, I just said I did. And I'm going to fight against the thoughts of criminalizing abortion for putting doctors in jail. It's a good argument, and it's an argument that should be made. But again, the Bible's not against abortion. And I don't think we as men should get to tell women what they do.
That's not true.
But
That's my seed.
I believe in the Bible, and I'm standing by the Bible, not my own.
So you're against the death penalty then? You're against death penalty, right? You're pro-life, right? All life is sacred, against the death penalty?
Yeah.
You oppose the war in Iraq, you're against that? All life is sacred?
Well, and I was going to say too, I mean, Trump is pulling troops out of
He's sending them to Iraq.
That's love.
No, and
It's not love, that's love for Putin. It's love for Putin and Erdogan.
Love for keeping his word.
Abandoning your allies is not love.
50 soldiers.
he's trying to North Korea, and he...
We got played by North Korea. We got nothing from that.
No.
We got nothing.
He's done more than anyone else.
We got nothing. That's not love.
He cares about Christians.
Where's the love for the poor? He tried to take health care away from 30 million people, brother.
That's not true.
GOP health care.
That's not true.
He took health care away from 30 million. He endorsed it. Go ahead, please.
Oh, hi. Jesse Lee Peterson, such a